Hello, everyone. My name is Gregory, and this is The View from Out Here. I think the month of July 2024 will be studied in the history books our grandchildren will be reading one day. And it will be for the sheer volume of significant things that happened that changed the political landscape of the United States. We started out the month with a second match of the two oldest men ever to run for president. President Joe Biden was running for a second term against former President Donald Trump, who had been fired by the voters just 4 years ago and was having a lot of trouble accepting his loss. Voters showed little interest in seeing these two now even older men compete for a second time. Donald Trump had spent the tail end of his own presidency being impeached by the Congress, once for stealing the election of 2016, and a second time for trying to overthrow the United States government because the voters fired him and he wanted to remain in power anyway. Along this timeline, Donald Trump was convicted for 34 felonies and is awaiting sentencing sometime between now and the election in November. The two presidential candidates challenged one another to an early presidential debate like they were a couple of professional wrestlers promoting SmackDown 2024 or something. At the end of June, they met in what would become the worst presidential debate anyone can remember, during which the dump truck in standard form lied 28 times in 1.5 hours, which works out to be about one lie every 3.2 minutes. But nobody noticed that because across the stage, President Joe Biden, after 6 days of preparation at Camp David, came on like a doddering old grandfather with dementia who apparently didn't know where he was or what he was supposed to be doing just then. Now, like about two or maybe three of you, I watched that debate on TV, and within 3 minutes, I was on my feet, pacing back and forth. Oh my God, we just lost the election. I did stay with it until the end, and it did not get any better. The Democratic Party immediately went into a panic and began putting together an intervention to try and get Uncle Joe to bow out. Personally, I remember Uncle Joe saying in 2020 that he would only be a one-term president because he would be too old to do an effective job as president by then, and he was right. He just wanted to make sure that the dump truck wouldn't be able to do any more damage to the United States than he had already done. He did keep Trump from a second term, and that's what he set out to do. President Joe Biden cleared the bar like a boss. At home, he got the infrastructure bill passed, forgave some more student loans, navigated us through the pandemic. He helped build the strongest post-pandemic economy in the free world and made tangible progress in securing our border against the MAGA Republican Party that wanted the border to remain open so that the dump truck could beat up Democrats for not doing anything about it leading up to the election. Overseas, he strengthened NATO and even added Finland to the roster. He supported the Ukraine's defense of their home against a hostile Russia and set them up to join NATO as soon as the war is over. He got us back into the Paris Accord to be partners in stemming the tide of global warming and made it clear that Vladimir Putin is the enemy of the United States and not the business partner that the dump truck still is trying to make him. Uncle Joe is a truly decent man that pundits on TV are now saying has been the most effective and most successful president ever. And I have no viable argument to refute that. His administration has been that productive. So the month proceeds, and Donald Trump is victimized by a suspicious attempt on his life at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Fortunately, he was not badly hurt, but he did milk the minor injury for all it was worth by wearing a conspicuous patch over his ear at the MAGA Republican convention 2 days later. Then, the next time he appeared in public, the patch was no longer necessary. Right now, the House of Representatives is setting up a committee to look into this assassination. Perhaps they share my suspicion. The fired president told us that his brush with mortality had changed him and that he would be a kinder, gentler candidate. That lasted to the first night of the convention, but by the second day, all that negativity, all that lying, all that anger, all that vitriol had returned in force. By the fourth night, when he gave his acceptance speech, he was back to his old angry, vindictive self, laying waste to anyone and anything that didn't grovel at his feet. While all of that was going on, the Democratic Party is ramping up their intervention to get Uncle Joe to stand down. They respected that it was his decision and his decision alone, but their determination finally paid off and he relented. He immediately threw his support to his Vice President, Kamala Harris, with the kind of class and kindness that has always been part of his DNA. It's a whole new ballgame now. Vice President Harris comes bursting out of the gate with donors ponying up about $30 million in grassroots support in the first 5 hours and attracting another roughly $60 million within the ensuing few days. There is now excitement about this election that the MAGA Republican Party is trying to figure out now how to bring her down to their level, how to savagely humiliate her enough to make a convicted felon look good enough to vote for. Right now, they're having trouble coming up with something workable. The very first attempt that they are making is to label her a DEI hire, which is the new dog whistle term they are using in place of the N-word. Next up, they're trying to tie her to the invasion going on at our southern border. But wait, didn't the MAGA Republican Party just kill a bipartisan bill to address that very invasion so that they could use it as a weapon against the Democrats in the election? So anyway, this has been the month for the history books, to be sure. But this election feels different now. A feeling of lightness and hope replaced what felt like a dark pall hovering over this election. So many of us were worried about Uncle Joe, and both candidates were showing signs of age-related decline. Now that there's only one old man in the race, it is starkly clear that Donald Trump has been struggling with decline for some time now. By comparison to Vice President Kamala Harris, he's not going to be able to hide his growing dementia. It's going to be highlighted just by her presence alone. Trump is also laying the groundwork to back out of the debate that was scheduled for mid-September. I'm reasonably sure he isn't looking forward to the image of standing on a stage across from a younger, more vital, more intelligent opponent with a long and successful history of putting felons like him in prison. I'm sure he will eventually land a suitable nickname that disparages Kamala Harris, and he will trash her as soon as he can, or in the best way that he can, but I doubt seriously that he will be able to blunt the fact that he is a convicted felon and his worthy opponent is a successful prosecutor. I think she will remind us of that every single day until the election. After all the dump truck has put this country through in the last decade, I wish her all the best. Okay. I want to thank you for hanging with me so far. And if you're finding anything of value here, please take a second to like and subscribe with the buttons below. And don't forget about my books, Basic Video Production, Everything You Need to Know to Make Video Like a Professional. That's that one right there. And my childhood memoir, Searching for Saint Germain, The True Story of a Gay Catholic Orphan. You'll find links to both books in the description below. And if you have Kindle Plus, you can enjoy both of them for free. Meanwhile, my name is Gregory, and this has been The View from Out Here. Much love.
Summer. Kind of. Well, it's almost summer.